I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Sam.
And this is Progression in Progress. All right, welcome back to another episode of Progression in Progress. How are you doing today, Samuel Roberts?
I am doing awesome. How about you?
Doing good, doing really well. So with this episode, what we wanted to do is we wanted to kind of do a little wrap up of the mini series we've kind of been doing, unofficial, official mini series we've been doing within this podcast about Sam and I trying to figure out what we want to do with the rest of our lives. We had an initial discussion about it, and then we brought in a few people here into the podcast. We brought my cousin Ethan, we brought my friend Colin, we brought my friend Adam, we brought my friend Hiram, right? Did we bring anyone else? I think that's it.
I don't want to forget someone and feel bad, so I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, I think that's it. Pretty sure that's it. That's who we brought into the podcast. And the reason I invited them on the podcast is because I felt like they were all very passionate about what they wanted to do, or at least had an idea of what they wanted to do. They were more confident, had things more figured out than Sam and I. So that's why we brought them here into the podcast to kind of get their perspective. And I guess is kind of the capstone to all of this, because Sam and I started this with a discussion, you know, kind of us just talking about what we wanted to do for the rest of our lives. And then I guess we're going to end this little mini series by talking about what we want to do for the rest of our lives once again, but this time with the added perspective of all the people we brought here into the podcast. And we just wanted to not do a comprehensive summary, but just kind of talk about the key takeaways we had from these last few episodes we've done.
Yeah. So I guess I'll kind of start. I guess one of the main things that kind of stuck out for me for a lot of our guests that came on were there always seemed to be some kind of, not all the time, like some specific event that happened, but usually like either growing up or sometimes one specific event, but they usually had something that led to them finding out what their interest was or working on that interest to then it actually becoming what they chose for their career. And so I found that, yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry to cut you off, but it's like they had their own story. And I feel like these last few episodes, we talked about stories a lot. We talked about stories with Colin because he's a screenplay major, right? A screenwriting major. And, you know, that's what he deals with every day. And then also we talked with Hiram about stories just because I learned a lot about stories from him. So we asked him about that. And now looking back, hindsight 2020, everyone does have their own story. Mm-hmm. You know, everyone does have their own story, at least in a way. In looking back on things, you know, you can see the steps you take in the moment. It might be difficult to see what's going on. It might be difficult to see each individual step you're taking, but when you look back on it, it really is, you can tell it like a story.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's what I'm kind of thinking about in my life right now, that, you know, all the stuff I'm doing now, I'm still hoping I'll find concretely what I'm going to actually do, but hopefully with all the stuff I'm doing now, I can look back and be like, oh, all that stuff I was doing, okay, that made sense, that those things happened, and then this is what ended up becoming of all that.
Well, you remember that picture I sent you? This is top 10 greatest texts I've ever sent you, right? Is when I sent you that picture of that book that I read over the summer, and your name, I wrote your freaking name in it.
Oh yeah.
You remember? I wrote your freaking name in it because I'm like, this is Sam, exactly. And then like 3 months later, I remembered it and then sent you a picture and had forgotten that I had written your name in it. And give me 2 seconds, because I actually want to share what I read in that book, because I think it applies to what we're talking about right here, and another point that I want to make after I share that. So give me 2 seconds. So this book is called Atomic Habits. Shout out to Amy and Michael Phelps for gifting me this book. They both read it, and they thought it was a great book. And I need to finish the book. I've read a few chapters of the book, but there was one thing that really stood out to me so much that I wrote Sam's name next to it when I read the book. And then when we were talking about this kind of stuff, it came back into my mind, and I sent a picture to Sam, and it was actually pretty funny because I forgot that I had written that there. So this is from Atomic Habits, written by James Clear. I haven't read the whole book, but so far what I have read, pretty interesting. And there's this little graph, and I guess I'll invite you guys to go check out our Instagram if you haven't checked out our Instagram yet, at Talk Progression, because I'll post a little picture of this because there's a little graph here. But what it's called is the Valley of Disappointment, is what he's describing. Is this coming back to you, Sam? Do you remember this?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so it's called the Valley of Disappointment. And what it talks about is it's talking about your potential in life. And you get on the grind and you start doing things, and what you expect to happen is a linear line, like a linear upward trend, right? Just a linear upwards trend is what you expect to happen when you get on the grind. But what really happens is what this guy is saying, what James Clear, I think, right? That's his name, James Clear, is saying, is there's a valley of disappointment because the line is actually curved. It curves upward, right? It's not linear, it curves upward.
Mm-hmm.
So so there's like a build up period, right? There's a ramping up period where you are not doing as well in life as you feel like you should, because, you're on the grind and you feel like, it should be obvious that things are going well. But really, according to James, what's going on is that there's a valley of disappointment, that point where you feel like you should be doing better than you are, but you're not, but you just got to wait. You got to see the light at the end of the tunnel, or wait till you get to the end of the tunnel where things shoot up, right?
Yeah.
So I'll post a picture of that on Instagram. Go check it out. I think it will be a million times easier if you just see the picture than trying to understand it from my explanation. But I feel like, hold on, let me put the book down. I feel like, Sam, you and I potentially, I don't know, I don't want to be overly confident, but I feel like you and I potentially might be in the valley of disappointment, where I'm on the grind at school and I feel like I should know what I want to do, and I feel like I should have more direction. And I do have direction, I have an idea of what I want to know, but I just don't have, kind of referencing what Adam talked about. I don't have something where it's like a burning passion, just burning a hole in my pocket, type of passion for something. Rather, I have a bunch of interests and things that I'm interested in more than other things, and I'm trying to narrow that down and find that passion. And Sam, I'll let you explain it, but how do you feel like you're in relation to that? Kind of just what we just talked about.
I feel like potentially I could be in that as well. I kind of feel like, honestly, that graph, while it does make sense, I kind of feel like in reality, it probably looks more like, I don't know what to compare it to, maybe like a stock graph or something, where yes, eventually it does kind of, of course we're talking about stocks that do well, but it has like ups and downs in it. So like, even if the trend is kind of eventually kind of makes that upwards curve, like there's still those ups and downs in it. And I kind of feel like I'm definitely progressing upwards, but every once in a while I'll kind of go into one of those little down struts where still just kind of questioning what I'm doing and where I'm going, but I'm still just trying to, just do everything I can now. And I'm just hoping that it's all leading to, the eventual, hopefully exponential kind of increase once everything is like fully figured out. And yeah, I think we kind of talked about this before, where I don't disagree with the thing, but it's like
with the picture and the graph.
Yeah, where you're calling it like a valley of disappointment, when maybe like the idea of, instead of it being, keep doing what you're doing and then it'll eventually go up. Yeah, once you have the plan, then maybe that whole curve doesn't really exist. Like if you kind of know where you're going from the beginning. I think
maybe,
like, I don't know. I think especially for someone like we were talking with Hiram there, I kind of feel like someone like that probably, maybe they still kind of feel that way, but if you have such a plan like that, I kind of feel like that whole curve goes away.
No, I see what you're saying. There's a distinction. If you have a plan, you can see step by step how you're progressing according to that plan. But without a very defined plan, it can be hard to see the steps of progression that you are taking. That makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
But the reason I brought that up, that whole, talking about that whole book, grabbing it, and sharing it again for the third time now, well, once to myself, one to you, and now here on the podcast, is because I feel like two key common takeaways that we had was that you kind of phrased it as keep going. Keep going. And does that have any reference to the Porter song? Keep going, keep going, keep going. Does that have any reference to that?
No, but that does actually make sense.
Dang. Okay. That was a random side note. But so Sam kind of phrased it as keep going. And I phrased it as patience. And I feel like all three of those connect to that thing I just shared from the book, from the Valley of Disappointment, or however you want to describe it. If you want to describe it like Sam's stock graph, or if you want to describe it like James Clear describes it in the book. And I feel like one key takeaway I'm taking away from these few episodes that we've done talking to these people is that I got to be patient. I feel like I was, before school started, I was kind of in that weird limbo phase before school started, but I was still thinking about school and what I wanted to do. And I just need to be patient. Even just from the time we've started this mini series to the time, we're recording this now, 4 weeks, I've had, a bunch of finance classes. I've had some little club meetings and stuff. And I've just, even 4 weeks ago, I feel like I have things much more figured out. Not 100% figured out. I still got a long way to go, but I have things more figured out. And I just got to be patient. I was just kind of getting in my own head. I was freaking myself out. Like, why don't I have this? Why don't I have this all figured out? Why isn't this all, why have I not woken up and just boom, there it is. And I think a key thing that I've learned is patience. It's going to take some time. And I feel like that's a common thing the thing we've talked about here on the podcast is things take time.
Yeah.
But that's just, I don't know. What do you have to say to that, Sam? I just feel like the biggest lesson I learned is I need to be patient.
Yeah. I mean, I think, nothing comes quickly most of the time, or at least
anything worth it doesn't come quickly most of the time.
Exactly. So, maybe we don't see it now, but I mean, I feel like I just keep saying the same thing over and over, but like, yeah, we just need to be patient. We need to work hard. And I just feel like everything else will just kind of sort itself out. Like, yeah. I think I put I graduated, when was it, 2015, I guess. I don't know why I said that. But anyways, my senior quote was, everything will be all right in the end. And if it's not all right, it's not yet the end. And so I just kind of feel like that just kind of rings true. Just keep going and everything will get better if you're just working hard and, moving forward. Everything will get sorted out.
Yeah. So, and that brings me to, or that reminds me of something that Adam said. And we were just talking about this right before we started recording. Adam said, I don't know if this is a direct quote, paraphrasing most likely, you can get where you want to be by doing the best you can right now. Mm-hmm. And then Sam and I were talking about it, discussing it, and wanted to add to that just one little phrase. You can get where you want to be by doing the best you can right now while facing forward. Mm-hmm. Having a progress mindset, I think, is important, because if, I don't know if Sam, if you want to share your personal experience with that, you can. If not, I can just come up with an example. But
yeah, like, I just kind of feel like what we were talking about before, just kind of looking at like careers and stuff going forward. Mm-hmm. I think kind of like what Adam was saying in that episode, there is kind of talking about, sticking with things, I guess. And then, just you get more experience kind of staying in one place and doing the best that you can instead of just kind of jumping around everywhere. And I think there's some truth to that. But then also, I think there's also a limit of, okay, how long should I be somewhere doing one thing when, I could actually be moving forward with whatever I learned or gained skills from the previous jobs or classes or whatever it is. So I think, to add on to that, it's, look forward, but still do the best what you can and use that as a building block to move forward instead of just being stuck in one place.
Yeah, it's you got to add the progression. I think, I mean, it's adding. When we say you got to add the progress mindset, I think that's just bringing it into our universe. Adding on to what Adam said, not in any way dissing what Adam said, but just bringing it into our universe. It's one thing that Adam said was, he was talking about passion. You can just feel it. And he kind of was almost embarrassed to say, or not embarrassed, but just like he felt bad that the best way he could describe it is, you know it when you feel it. And I think, I guess it's just to make things a little more personal, because this is kind of where we're at. I wanted to talk about where we're at, because, you know, that's the whole part of the whole idea of the podcast is this is progression in progress. You know, Sam and I are progressing through our lives. So we want to share what's going on just a little bit, what's going on with us. And like I said earlier in this very episode, I feel like I have a ton of things that I'm interested in, and I don't have something that I'm extremely passionate about. So Sam and I, before this episode, talked for what, like how long? An hour and a half, at least?
At least. Mm-hmm.
Before this episode, because we hadn't talked for a week or two. And I've had like one of the craziest weeks of my life this last week. Or not life, but just for the last little while. And then Sam and I hadn't talked for a long time. So I told him the whole story of that, right? And then, but we just kind of like, we're going. And I feel like there was a little bit, at least for me, this is the most excited I've been in a while, talking, you know, just talking, telling Sam about my week, telling the story of what happened to me this week. And then we started talking about some music and some other stuff after that. And I could just feel it, you know, and I understand a little more now what Adam says, that you can just feel it. Yeah. And I think where I'm at is I need to match that feeling that I have, you know, just talking with Sam, you know, a good friend, right? One of my best friends, talking with Sam. You know, when we're not recording, I can just go off, right, and just talk, right? Mm-hmm. But I have to find, but it wasn't stupid stuff we were talking about, but I wasn't talking about the details of finance, you know, that's not what I was talking about. Yeah. So what I have to do, I feel like, is I have to match that feeling, you know, when I get excited talking about something, and I have to match that with a career. That's kind of, I think, where I'm at. Mm-hmm. And I think part of that is being patient. I'm just going to have to keep at it, keep grinding, keep going, like Sam said. And I think eventually I'll arrive there and find that, and, you know, let those two things match up.
Yeah, I'm definitely in the same kind of place. And it honestly just makes me kind of excited, or kind of looking forward to when, you know, I can also have that kind of experience of, you know, getting into something or learning something, or just finding that thing where then, oh man, I just want to talk about that all the time. I want to share that. I want to just keep working on it. Like that kind of passion. Like once you find that, like, that's exciting. That's something to look forward to in itself.
Yeah, it is. I mean, because it's so obvious, because you can feel it. It's, mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure everyone else, or not, it's not the same feeling for everyone, yeah. But you know, you can feel it. And like, for example, like I can tell, like when I've made this joke a few times, but it's really true. I am an old man, and I go to bed early. I take my vitamins. And then, you know what else? As I love econ like a freaking old man. And when I like start talking about econ, you know, like I just like, it gets me going for some reason. That's literally the oldest man crap I could say. But now I guess that raises my own personal question. Why am I not majoring in econ? And I have reasons for that, but I just gotta, I don't know. I just like, I after hearing Adam talk about it, and then after thinking about it this week and having a few experiences, you know, I feel like I'm much more suited to at least find that thing. You know, I don't know if I found it yet, but I'm at least more suited to find that thing. And I guess, yeah, I just to not reiterate, but hopefully not sounding like a broken record, it's, you know, I've learned a lot from this, and now I just got to be patient. I just got to chill out. I got to be patient. I got to wait, not be a slacker, but I just got to be patient. I got to chill out. I got to wait.
Yeah, I'll quote Elon Musk's song "Don't Doubt Your Vibe." You know, it goes, "Don't doubt your vibe because it's true. Don't doubt your vibe because it's you." And I think that's kind of just how we have to go about it. We'll find ourselves, and we'll find what we're meant to do, and what's going to happen just through our own experiences, and just gotta trust our gut, and it'll all work out.
And just, I guess, last thing to wrap it up, for those of you, I think it's the second shameless plug to follow our Instagram at Talk Progression, right? I just posted on the day that I recorded this, you know, so it might be a while ago, but for those of you who saw it, I posted something about seeing things through pays off. And that was in response. I kind of was thinking that because I had this giant project for a club, real estate association club here at BYU, right? And we had this whole project, and a few things, didn't go according to plan. And I was thinking about, or wanting to at least, to quit the project because it was just extracurricular stuff. But we ended up seeing things through, and it really came together. I mean, we didn't win the competition. We didn't win the competition, but we saw things through, and it went much, much better than I expected. Much, much better than I expected. We were down 2 team members from the start. We had no experience. We had no idea what was going on with this whole underwriting model, for this competition we were doing for trying to figure out real estate stuff. We, luckily, shout out to my team members. They encouraged me to stick it out. They didn't just, when I was kind of showing a little bit of doubt, they didn't just give into that doubt. They kind of were like, yeah, let's keep on the grind, motivated me, kept me on the grind. And, we were able to see things through. And we presented it this morning, the day of the recording, I presented it this morning, and it went way, way better than I would have expected. If you would have asked me how it was going to turn out a week ago, I would have been like, dude, we're so screwed. But we were less screwed by the time it finished because we saw it through. We put in the work, we saw it through. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I feel like it just summarizes a personal experience I just had, summarizes what I'm trying to say, is that Sam and I just need to keep see things through. We need to keep going. We need to be patient.
Going through, finishing things, and like even if they're tough or hard in the present, like you'll always thank yourself later, or at least that's how I imagine it. I'm not there yet, but I'm hoping I'll thank myself later from all this.
Well, just even going back to telling before we started recording, I was telling you all about my week, and it was one of the best weeks I've had in a long time, but it was also one of the most stressful things, stressful weeks I've had. But if you can just make it to the end, if you can get over that hump, if you can push through, get to that light at the end of the tunnel, keep going, once you get over that hump, things change, your perspective changes, but it's almost impossible to see that perspective while you're in the midst of things. But you also, at the same time, just have to know, you have to trust that it's there, that you're almost there. You just got to get over that hump.
Exactly. Even through most hard things that you do, like I always think back to, a whole bunch of any kind of hard thing I did, whether it be like, like back when I was doing scouting, like doing like a big 50-mile backpacking trip or like a 100-mile bike ride or whatever it was. Like I remember in the moment, like I was just hating it, and it was just, it's just a grind every day doing all that mileage and stuff. But then, looking back at it now, it's like, wow, I accomplished those things, and it was, there's you kind of see everything, all the good moments from it, and then just how you've like kind of improved as a person because of doing those things. And so, yeah, that's just I think that's just how all life is kind of in general. We'll do all these challenging things, but then we'll look back on it and see all the good that came out of everything. So, yeah, just gotta keep going.
Exactly. It is a progression in progress. I mean,
exactly.
It really is. So, yeah, I guess we'll just end it there. Thank you guys so much for listening. I think Sam and I really enjoy the conversations we have, and we would probably maybe even do this if no one was listening. But since there are people listening, we get to do it in this medium, and I feel like I really enjoy it. I hope you're enjoying it, Sam. But I just wanted to say thanks for listening, guys. We really appreciate it. Fourth shameless plug: go follow our Instagram @TalkProgression. Twitter game is heavily slacking, but one day we will progress and have a fire Twitter. Yeah. But that day is not today. But still go follow @TalkProgression as well. Anything else, Sam?
Just be sure to rate our podcast on the podcast platform of your choosing. Leave us a review, 5 stars, of course. And then be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, just to make sure that you see all of our new episodes when they go live. And I think that's it. Anything else?
No, that's it. We got it. All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Have a good one.